As noted on the Britannica website, the serial murder case that occurred in London, England, from August to November 1888 is one of the most mysterious criminal cases for British police officers. The perpetrator of the murder was never caught because at that time the police did not have any evidence or clues about who the real perpetrator was. That's why the perpetrator was given the nickname Jack the Ripper or Jack the Shredder. Here are some facts about Jack the Ripper. Who is the real serial killer? Please, listen and watch the following video to the end. The nickname Jack the Ripper came from several anonymous letters. The London public at that time did not necessarily dub the killer with a nickname that is still legendary today. The nickname Jack the Ripper came from some anonymous letters that came from nowhere. The letters were initially believed to be letters written by the perpetrator. However, there are many experts who think that these letters are hoaxes made by certain parties to increase public interest in this case. Possibly, the fake letters were made by media journalists. Of course, it was with the aim of getting a public outcry that could be summarized as a news source. Due to the massive coverage of the serial murders, the British public was shocked and filled with excessive fear, especially since the London police were still unable to uncover the facts behind the atrocities of Jack the Ripper, which caused panic, especially in the poor area of Whitechapel. As noted on the National Archive page, anonymous letters that were previously sent to the public are now stored in the National Archives of London, England. Uniquely, the strange letters not only came from England, but also from France and the United States. Only a few victims are officially recorded. It is not known exactly how many victims of the Jack the Ripper murders. However, officially, there are at least 5 victims recorded, as written on the Britannica website. They are Mary Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. The 5 recorded victims were prostitutes who came from poor and slum areas. The murders committed are also sadistic, because apart from cutting the victim's neck, the victim's stomach was also mutilated. This mutilation case gave rise to speculation that the perpetrator was someone who had knowledge of body anatomy. Although there are several officially recorded victims, the police and the general public believe that the other murder victims were also largely carried out by the same perpetrator, namely Jack the Ripper. There were many mysterious murder cases in the years that followed, and Jack the Ripper remained the prime suspect. Jack the Ripper's reputation skyrocketed to an international scale. Massive media coverage and the emergence of many rumors among the British public made Jack the Ripper's name even more famous, even on an international scale. Several newspapers from France, Italy, Spain, and even the United States reported the sadistic serial murder case that occurred in the city of London. Great British Mag notes on its website that the Jack the Ripper case is still often mentioned in London today. In fact, back in 1986, the FBI had made a detailed psychological profile and was trying to investigate or at least find out who the culprit was. Profiles created by the FBI and private investigators take into account geographic, social, motive, and physiological situations to arrive at a conclusion. They hope that by making psychological profiles like this, they can find out the motives and patterns of movement of the perpetrators. Investigations conducted by the London police at that time did not get any clues. Detailed investigations into this murder case led to shallow and vague conclusions. National Geographic writes that at the time, almost all sections of society were involved in police investigations. How is the result? Still nothing. In fact, the murder cases committed by Jack the Ripper had created an uproar and division among Londoners in general. The poor blaspheme and blame the rich. On the other hand, the rich people also blame the poor. There are several people who are suspected by the police. However, the police were unable to arrest them due to lack of evidence. Ironically, in the midst of a tense situation in London, the perpetrator named Jack the Ripper is still walking leisurely and freely in the middle of the city. Who exactly is Jack the Ripper? In fact, until now, the perpetrator behind Jack the Ripper is still vague and mysterious. However, some modern forensic experts have begun to feel for sure and claim that they found a single perpetrator, as written in Science Mag. In 2014, a genetic test carried out with state-of-the-art equipment concluded that Aaron Kosminski, a barber from Poland, was the lone offender with 99% certainty. DNA investigations were carried out on a shawl belonging to the victim with a few bloodstains and traces of male sperm. It is not easy to find accurate results because the cloth is very ancient and the forensic traces inside are also very blurry. However, with mitochondrial DNA analysis technology, a clear clue was obtained. Yes, the test results point to the DNA of the surviving descendants of Aaron Kosminski. The traces of sperm on the victim's scarf are genetically identical to Kosminski's descendants. Previously, Aaron Kosminski had indeed been included as one of the main suspects, but the police did not arrest him because there was not enough evidence. However, again, until now the case is still mysterious. There are other DNA experts who argue that a sperm test using the mitochondrial DNA method will not determine who is the culprit, because the test would be biased and lead to thousands of men in London around the crime scene. Kosminski also turned out to have been admitted to a mental hospital because he suffered from a severe mental disorder. He finally died in 1919 in the mental hospital. Kosminski was diagnosed with a mental disorder in the form of self-torture obsessed with deviant sexual arousal. Those are some facts about Jack the Ripper, a serial killer who is very mysterious until now. What do you think? Have the serial murder cases been solved, or is the story actually just a myth that is deliberately exaggerated as a commercial effort? Thank you for watching this video. If you like it, please share, like and subscribe so this channel can grow.